Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is lecture number 8B. I gave it the name 8B because the previous lecture, lecture number 8, it got stopped unexpectedly, and that was a very brief one, therefore. So I gave it the name 8B because it is actually lecture number 8 and its continuation. The name of the paper, as you know, is Criticism 1. We are doing Aristotle's Poetics, and in Poetics, we are discussing Aristotle's theory of art. The lecture is specifically for the students of BS English 5th semester GDC PABI, and it is also for the students of those colleges which are affiliated with Abdul Wali Khan University. We had reached this point in the previous lecture 8. We were discussing the comparison between Plato and Aristotle, and I was translating it in Urdu when something happened and it got stopped, and therefore I'm naming it now 8B. So we start from where we had left. In this paragraph, we will talk about Plato being an idealist and Aristotle as a realist, and we will also differentiate form from the matter and how Aristotle discusses form and matter. We already know that Plato believed in the ideas. Idea is something which is common in many. For example, there is the idea of chair, but when you look at a chair, that is not the idea, that is a specific chair. It is a copy of the ideal, which is idea is something which is common in many. So common in all the chairs is something, and that something is ideal. So Plato believed that these ideas, they have some existence, subjective existence outside the mind of the people, and that something is, that is, our ideals are somewhere, and he believed in it, that they do exist, and therefore this objective existence was believed in by Plato outside the mind, and he thought that ideal was something real. Aristotle, we know, is a realist, and he says that idea is actually not real because idea doesn't exist outside the mind of a man, that it is the mental abstraction born out of observations. We observe things, we try to find out common in them, something which is common in them, and that something which is common in them is the ideal, and that is the mental abstraction outside the mind. It doesn't exist. So he did not believe in the world of the ideals, that is the world of the ideas. The objective existence, according to him, is not there because it is only a mental abstraction. He also Aristotle also talks about the matter and form to some extent. Right in the beginning, in 8th lecture, I talked about it a little, that there is the combination of form and matter. They cannot be separated from each other. Form is something which tries from within the matter, inside the matter, to convert the matter into something which is the best, which is better than anything, which is ideal. So he wants to, that the form wants to convert the matter into something ideal. Form wants to convert the people or the matter or whatever it is to convert it into something which is the best. But matter is obstructive. It is resistive. It resists this change which is given by form to the matter, that is resisted, and as a result we say that matter is obstructive. It resists this change. Form, however, tries to mold the matter in the image of an ideal, but form does not succeed in this. However, in some people or in some matter, form succeeds to some degree, and in some other thing or person, it succeeds to some another degree. And that's why we have good people, we have better people, we have best people, and we have the worst people as well. It is because the farm does not succeed in some people or succeeds to some extent in other people or in matter. So, this is the idea of Aristotle, the idea of form and matter. Form, he thinks, is something which converts and tries to convert the matter into ideal. In this next paragraph, we will learn, as Aristotle tells us, that form actually resembles artist. This force which works behind this matter is just like the artist. The artist also has the vision of beauty. Form also has the vision of beauty. Form wants to convert that vision into reality, to convert the matter, but the matter gives resistance, and therefore form is unsuccessful. Artist has that vision of beauty, and he tries to translate this, convert this vision into reality. If he is a sculptor, for example, he translate it into in the stone. If he is a painter, he uses colors. If he is a poet or a dramatist, he uses words. And with the help of stone, color, and words, the artist's vision of beauty is translated, is converted. So, this is what he does, the artist. But no artist is ever satisfied with his creation or with his production, because he falls short of what he should have done with it, with the help of stone, with the help of color, with the help of words. So he's never satisfied with his creation because he wants the best thing. He wants the ideal thing, which is quite impossible to do. So the answer for this question is always no. He is never satisfied. The same is the case with farm. Farm is also never satisfied with what the matter should have been. The matter should have been the ideal, but the matter isn't. So farm is never satisfied with its work. The only difference of the farm and the farm and the artist is that the artist works from the outside. Artist takes, for example, a stone and shapes it into a beautiful sculpture, or artist might use color in the case of painter, and translates his sense of beauty, his vision of beauty into reality. Or if he is a poet or a dramatist, he might use words in order to create something and convert it or translate that vision of beauty into reality. But he works from outside. A carver would shape a stone from outside. The painter would do it from outside, and so is the case with the poet and the dramatist. They work from outside, while the form actually works from inside. Poets gives us images just like a painter, but the painter does it with the help of colors, with the help of brush, while the poet does it with the help of words. So he creates images with the help of picture, with the help of words. These pictures are created, and this is done from outside, while the force does it from within. So the job is the same. This form or force tries to convert the thing into ideal. The artist tries to convert his vision into an ideal, but the artist does it from outside. The force or the form does it from inside. The force works within the matter and not from outside, but it resembles the artist. This force, this form is like the artist, uh, and like the artist, it does not succeed. The force falls short of the ideal, and so does the artist. So the artist and the force are the same thing. The force is something which is trying to convert something into ideal. The artist is trying to do the same. So therefore the artist is not a copyist, is not copying the copy or the imperfect copy. He is copying the force. He is like that force which is ideal, which is trying to change the thing into an ideal shape, into an ideal form. तो इसमें हमने ये पढ़ा कि जो फॉर्म है, ये जो फोर्स है, ये आर्टिस्ट ही की तरह है। आर्टिस्ट का भी विजन होता है ब्यूटी का, वो इसको बनाने एक स्कल्प्टर स्टोन में डालता है, एक पेंटर कलर्स के जरिए कैनवस पे डालता है, और एक पोएट और ड्रामेटिस्ट वर्ड्स में डालता है अपनी इस विजन ऑफ ब्यूटी को। और ये जो विजन इसके जहन में होता है, ये उसके उस चूंकि जहन में है तो ये आइडियल है, इसको कन्वर्ट करता है। लेकिन आर्टिस्ट अपने काम से कभी भी मुतमईन नहीं होता, क्योंकि उसके सामने आइडियल है और आइडियल का अचीवमेंट मुमकिन नहीं है। तो अगर आप उससे पूछे आप मुतमईन हैं, तो वो कहेगा मैं मुतमईन नहीं हूँ अपनी क्रिएशन से। अगर आप फॉर्म से पूछेगा आप मुतमईन हैं अपने मैटर से, तो वो कहेगा मैं नहीं हूँ, मैं मैटर को आइडियल बनाना चाहता हूँ और मैटर रेजिस्ट करता है, और मैं अपनी क्रिएशन से मुतमईन नहीं हूँ। आर्टिस्ट आउटसाइड से काम करता है और फॉर्म इनसाइड से काम करता है। आर्टिस्ट एक पत्थर उठाता है, उसको मुजस्समे में बाहर से तराश के कन्वर्ट करता है, जबकि फॉर्म इनसाइड से काम करता है और वो मैटर को आइडियल में कन्वर्ट करने की कोशिश करता है। दोनों अपनी क्रिएशन को आइडियल बनाने में कामयाब नहीं होते, और मज़ा तो इसी में है कि आइडियल में कामयाब नहीं होते। आइडियल ऐसा है कि इसको अचीव करना मुमकिन नहीं है। दोनों कोशिश करते हैं टू बी एज क्लोज टू द आइडियल एज पॉसिबल। तो ये टॉपिक यहाँ पे एक सब टॉपिक खत्म हुआ। द नेक्स्ट इज द आर्टिस्ट इमिटेट्स द आइडियल। To some extent, we have already discussed it. The artist imitates the ideal, as we said that artists and the form, they are alike. Artist tries to give us that which nature failed to do. Nature here refers to the form. The form fails to give us the ideal because of the resistance of the matter, and therefore we find all types of imperfections around us in the nature, because nature has failed to do so, form has failed to do so. Now the artist is the one who tries to imagine what that ideal would be. That ideal, of course, is unrealized, but he thinks about that unrealized ideal, and he then tries to imitate that ideal or create that ideal which the form has failed to give us, or which the nature has failed to give us. So we cannot say that he is imitating the thing of the world, because the thing of the world is not ideal. And he is imitating the ideal. So he imitates the unrealized thing. The unrealized ideal is imitated by him, is imitated by the poet. The poet imitates the form. The form is something which tries to make the matter, convert the matter into ideal that is unrealized. And this is what the poet imitates, that unrealized ideal, and therefore the poet is not copying, he is creating something, and if you say he's copying, he is not copying the copy, he's copying the ideal, he's copying the form. So this is the meaning of what might be and ought to be. What might be and ought to be means whatever the form tries to convert the matter into and is unsuccessful, the poet does the same thing. He wants to create something ideal. The form uh, tries to create something ideal. The form fails, but the poet tries to be successful, and he thinks what the form would have converted the thing into, and he actually makes that thing and tries to imitate that thing. He's not a copyist. Therefore, if the outside world is chaotic, then the artist a kind of imposes order onto that chaos of the world by removing all chances and incidents and relates everything causally. This is what the artist does, the novelist does, the dramatist does. He arranges the incidents in such a way that the nature failed to arrange in that way. The nature, the natural world around us is chaotic, is disorderly, and the artist imposes order on this chaos of the world, and he removes all the chances on all the things he doesn't want or is not present in the ideal thing. He makes it ideal by removing all the chances and the incidents. These are not the chances because he is now creating the world. Something is not happening by chance. This is this time created by the writer. So these are not chances. These chances are removed, and incidents of the chances are removed, and he relates everything according to the cause and effect. When we say according to the cause and effects, the chances and something incidental is removed. So this is what he does. In this paragraph, we will learn that it was Aristotle who was the first critic who made a distinction between the fine art and the useful art. Um, the fine art includes painting, dancing, music, literature. These are fine arts. The useful arts, for example, architecture, handicraft, etc. In this way, by giving this distinction, Aristotle actually liberated art from the bondage of religion and also from the bondage of politics, because it has nothing to do with other forms of art. Fine art has its own end to give pleasure, its own end actually. Later on, we will learn is catharsis also, according to Aristotle. So, therefore, fine art is separate from the other arts. Mixing the two is not correct. This is what was done by Plato, and he objected that the chair, the real chair made by the carpenter, has utility, but the chair made by the painter has no utility. And this problem comes when you don't find this, when you don't distinguish these two, fine art and useful art, then you put yourself in the problem comparing painting with carpentry. Now, painting is a different type of art according to Aristotle. It is the branch of fine art, while carpentry is the branch of useful art, and these both have different ends. So, therefore, uh, fine art, that is drama, poetry, literature, it was liberated from the bondage of religion or from the bondage of politics, because the end of art is it has its own end, and this was a wonderful thing he did, because Plato objected on the utility or not having the utility of the chair of painter or whatever the painter paints. This objection has no value if you find a distinction between fine art and useful art, and Aristotle did so. तो इस पैराग्राफ में हमने फर्क पड़ा फाइन आर्ट और यूजफुल आर्ट का, और ये पहली मर्तबा अरिस्टोटल ने किया। फाइन आर्ट और यूजफुल आर्ट में फ़र्क बताया। फाइन आर्ट्स में पेंटिंग, डांसिंग, म्यूज़िक, लिटरेचर वगैरह आते हैं, और यूजफुल आर्ट्स में ये सारे प्रोफेशंस जो हैं, आर्किटेक्चर, फ़न तामीर हो, दस्तकारी हो, कारपेंट्री हो, ये यूजफुल आर्ट्स हैं। और इनमें फ़र्क बताया कि ये अलग अलग हैं। फ़र्क बताने का फ़ायदा ये हुआ कि अगर ये अलग अलग हैं तो फिर इनके पर्पसेस भी अलग अलग हैं, तो लिहाजा एक को दूसरे के साथ कंपेयर करना दुरुस्त नहीं है। और ये काम प्लेटो ने किया। प्लेटो ने कहा कि जो आर्टिस्ट है, अगर वो पेंटर है और वो कुर्सी बनाता है तो उसकी कुर्सी तो यूजफुल ही नहीं है। इससे तो कारपेंटर की कुर्सी बेहतर है, उसमें आप बैठ सकते हैं। पेंटर की कुर्सी में तो आप बैठ नहीं सकते, तो पेंटर की कुर्सी बैठने के लिए है ही नहीं। जब इसने इन दोनों को अलग कर दिया तो इन दोनों के फंक्शन भी अब अलग होंगे। तो अब आर्ट का फंक्शन अलग होगा, हम उसको पढ़ेंगे। एक फंक्शन हम पढ़ेंगे कैथारसिस का अरिस्टोटल के मुताबिक। तो यूं इसने ये बॉन्डेज से इसको आज़ाद किया, रिलीजन से भी आज़ाद किया, पॉलिटिक्स से भी आज़ाद किया, और किस्म की आर्ट से भी इसको आज़ाद किया। In the next coming paragraphs, we will talk about the two different explanations of the word imitation. For example, Aristotle said that art is the imitation of nature. We will explain this. And then art is the imitation of man in action. We will explain these two. First comes that art is the imitation of nature, that art imitates nature, or art imitates the methods of nature. Now you see that nature in Greek writers, they did not imitated nature as such in their poetry. So you do not find the poetry of nature. They also did not paint natural objects. There was no such thing in Greeks. Uh, this nature was not the object of imitation for the artists. It was later on, that it was the romantic movement that the poets started writing about nature, and nature was the object of their discussion. Wordsworth, Keats, Shelley, they actually talked about nature and they wrote about nature. But this was not the case with Greek writers, with Greek painters. They did not take nature as the object of imitation. Uh, Man actually was thought to be the fit object of imitation by the Greek writers, and they imitated man. Uh, but what is meant by art imitates nature, or the method of nature? What is then the method of nature? So, by the method of nature, as we have already discussed, he meant form. Form is something which is a natural force, and form tries to convert things. You can see this is a kind of repetition. Um, if you want to cut this off, you can briefly talk about it, because it will become quite long and difficult to write in the examination. So you can shorten many of the things. There's a lot of repetition here. This is a kind of repetition. When we say that the poet imitates nature, we mean that the poet imitates the method of nature. The method of nature is the method of form. And what is the method of form? Form tries to produce ideal people, ideal men, ideal women, having ideal bodies, ideal health, ideal intelligence, and ideal character. This is what the form tries to do. and fails to do. Artist actually tries to remove these imperfections. Form falls short of these things, and therefore we have imperfections in the world. Artist tries to remove these imperfections as was tried by form. So form was nature, and this form is actually imitated by the artist. He imitates the method of the nature to remove these imperfections, and the method of imitation is the method of form. So this is the explanation of the art imitates nature. Art imitates nature means that art imitates the method of nature, and the method of nature is form. Form tries to make the things or the matter into perfection, and it falls short of it. Artist imitates this, and this is the method of nature. For example, if we take the example of a doctor, uh, we develop a lot of physical ailments, weaknesses, diseases, and the art of the doctor makes up for these shortcomings. So the doctor is a kind of artist, and he tries to convert the health of the man or a human being closer to the ideal man. So when he does this, he is actually imitating the method of nature. The method of nature is the farm. Farm also tries to convert us into ideal. He is trying to convert the people into ideal health, and therefore he is imitating the same thing, the same form. The doctor imitates the method of nature or the method of form because form already has a resistance for diseases, for weaknesses, but sometimes the attack is so powerful, the attack of the disease, that form fails. And when the form fails, um, we need the help of the doctor in order to do the same thing which was done by the form. Form tried to make us healthy, to make us ideal. And the same thing is repeated by the doctor. So doctor is also imitating nature by helping us. So this is actually the example of useful art. He is using useful art to do that. The same is the case with a beautician. Uh, let's say, for example, if there's a woman and who is not perfectly beautiful, and she wants to be perfectly beautiful, she uses the help of the plastic surgeon, and she does plastic surgery, which is again useful art, and he is again imitating the nature or the form to convert this woman into the most beautiful woman. So art in this case imitates nature, and this is again the example of uh, the art which is called the useful art. इस पैराग्राफ में हमने बात ये पढ़ी कि आर्ट जो है ये नेचर को इमिटेट करता है। इसकी वजाहत हम पढ़ रहे हैं कि आर्ट इमिटेट करता है मेथड्स ऑफ नेचर की, क्योंकि ग्रीक में, यूनानियों में नेचर जो था ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ इमिटेशन नहीं था, और नेचर को पोएट्स बैकग्राउंड में तो लेते थे, लेकिन नेचर के बारे में पोएट्री नहीं लिखते थे, जिस तरह वर्ड्सवर्थ ने लिखी, कीट्स और शेले ने लिखी। ये बाद में इंग्लिश लिटरेचर में डेवलप हुआ। यूनानियों के लिए ऐसी कोई बात नहीं थी, और वो सिर्फ इंसान को फिट ऑब्जेक्ट समझते थे इमिटेशन के लिए। जो आर्टिस्ट इमिटेट करता था तो उसको मेथड ऑफ नेचर हम कहेंगे कि वो मेथड ऑफ नेचर इमिटेट करता था, और मेथड ऑफ नेचर जो है वो फॉर्म है। फॉर्म का काम है कि वो परफेक्ट चीज बनाए, चीज को, मैटर को परफेक्ट करे, और वो उसमें नाकाम हो जाता है। और ये काम फिर आर्टिस्ट करता है। तो आर्टिस्ट दरअसल ये इमिटेट करता है फॉर्म को, ये इमिटेट करता है नेचर को। लिहाजा फॉर्म चाहता है कि मैन वेमन ये परफेक्ट बॉडी में हो, इंटेलिजेंस में हो, हेल्थ में हो, परफेक्ट कैरेक्टर में हो, और ये नाकाम होता है। और ये काम फिर आर्टिस्ट करता है, इन इम्परफेक्शंस को ख़त्म करता है, और इसके लिए ये इमिटेट करता है मेथड ऑफ नेचर को, और मेथड ऑफ नेचर दरअसल फॉर्म है। फिर इसके बाद हमने डॉक्टर की मिसाल ली कि डॉक्टर का काम ये यूजफुल आर्ट है, और ये बीमारियों को ख़त्म करता है। जब इंसान सेहत में हो तो फार्म सक्सेसफुल होता है सेहत में रखने के लिए, क्योंकि ये काम फार्म का है। लेकिन जब अटैक बड़ा मजबूत हो बीमारी का, तो इस फार्म को बहाल करने के लिए, इस हेल्थ को बहाल करने के लिए हमें फिजिशियन की ज़रूरत पड़ती है, और फिजिशियन उसको आइडियल हेल्थ में लाने की कोशिश करता है, और ये काम फार्म का है। तो ये भी फार्म को इमिटेट कर रहा है, लेकिन ये यूजफुल आर्ट इस्तेमाल करके। इसी तरीके से एक प्लास्टिक सर्जन है, वो अगर किसी औरत का ऑपरेशन करता है ब्यूटीफुल बनाने के लिए, तो अगर वो ब्यूटीफुल नहीं है तो फार्म सक्सेसफुल नहीं रहा है। अब ये वही काम कर रहा है प्लास्टिक सर्जन जो फार्म ने करना था, तो ये तो फार्म को इमिटेट कर रहा है। और आर्ट जो है ये इमिटेट करती है नेचर को, इसका मतलब भी है इमिटेट करती है फार्म को। And now comes the explanation of art is the imitation of man in action. As we said earlier, that these are the two statements: art is the imitation of nature, and as we explained, by nature he means form, and art imitates form, artist imitates form, because form tries to convert things into matter, into something ideal, and this is what the artist does too. And then art is the imitation of man in action. So the explanation comes here. Art is the imitation of man in action, because man was considered to be the main object of imitation um, by the artists. And in fine arts, as is the case with dancer, musician, or poet, they imitate men in action. A poet would refer to the dramatist as well. And this imitation of man in action is fine art, it is not useful art. And fine art is different from useful art, and the purpose of fine art is different from useful art. And the object of imitation are three. There are three objects of imitation of an artist. Character is the first, emotion is the second, and action is the third one. So let us discuss them one by one. By character, we understand one thing in the context of drama and novel. So our concept of character is the whole man, and we mean the whole man when we say character. But for Aristotle, character refers only to the moral qualities of man, to the moral qualities of a man who is a good man, will have good moral characteristics, or the immoral qualities of a villain. So these two are considered as character: the moral qualities in the case of a good person, or the immoral qualities in the case of a villain. And Aristotle calls these as the permanent disposition of mind. This is permanently uh, there in the mind of the person, in the character of the person, the moral qualities or the immoral qualities, and it is the way in which a character tends to behave. So, if somebody is said to have good character, then he would respond to whatever there is in the same way. Whatever the circumstances are, whatever the situation is, he would behave in the same manner. But if he doesn't behave in the same manner, that, for example, uh, if a situation comes in which he has to sacrifice something and he doesn't sacrifice that for the sake of goodness, then that man cannot be considered to be a good man. So that would not be the permanent disposition then. The permanent disposition of mind means that whatever the circumstances are, the good man will act in a good manner and a bad man will act in bad manner. So this character was considered and is considered by us as a whole character. But for Aristotle, this did not mean the whole character. It was only that part which was the permanent disposition of human being, of man in action. The second object of emotion is the object of imitation is the emotion. Emotion is contrasted with the character, which is the permanent disposition of man. This is the temporary disposition of man, the temporary mood, the temporary feelings, the temporary emotions, and these last for a short interval of time. Our emotional responses, or anger, or sadness, they are not permanent, they are for a little time, and therefore they are referred to as the temporary disposition of man, the temporary mood or the temporary feelings. तो ये ज़रा उर्दू में सुन लें, मैन इन एक्शन की इमिटेशन. तो इमिटेशन के लिए मैन इन एक्शन की वजाहत यह है कि ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ इमिटेशन तीन है, कैरेक्टर है, इमोशन है और एक्शन है. और जो फाइन आर्टिस्ट है वो इमिटेट करता है मैन इन एक्शन, ख्वाह वो डांसर हो, ख्वाह वो म्यूजिशियन हो, ख्वाह वो पोइट से मुराद यहाँ पे ड्रामेटिस्ट है क्योंकि वो मैन इन एक्शन को इमिटेट करता है. तो ये जो इमिटेशन ऑफ मैन इन एक्शन है ये फाइन आर्ट में है, ये हम यूजफुल आर्ट की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. और इसके थ्री ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ इमिटेशन है. किरदार का हमने बताया, कैरेक्टर का, कि ये जो ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ इमिटेशन है ये परमानेंट डिस्पोजिशन ऑफ माइंड है. परमानेंट डिस्पोजिशन ऑफ माइंड का मतलब ये है कि ये क्वालिटी उस पर्सन में परमानेंट होनी चाहिए. अगर ये मॉरली गुड कैरेक्टर है तो गुड क्वालिटीज, और अगर ये मॉरली बैड कैरेक्टर है तो बैड क्वालिटीज, इमोरल क्वालिटीज ये परमानेंटली इसमें होगी. कोई भी सिचुएशन होगा तो अच्छा आदमी अच्छा अमल करेगा, और कोई भी सिचुएशन होगा तो विलन आदमी, बुरा आदमी बुरा करेगा. तो ये एक पार्ट है फुल किरदार का. एक दूसरा पार्ट हमारा थॉट भी है, और थॉट और ये दोनों मिल के पूरा इंसान बनाते हैं. तो इमोशन जो है ये दूसरा ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ इमिटेशन है, और कैरेक्टर परमानेंट डिस्पोजिशन था, इमोशन टेम्पररी डिस्पोजिशन ऑफ माइंड है. ये कम वक्त के लिए होता है और शॉर्ट इंटरवल ऑफ टाइम तक ये बाकी रहता है. The third object of imitation is action. But our understanding of action is a little different from the Greek understanding of action. By action, we mean only the external action. For example, walking, jumping, and fighting. But Greek actually meant by action both the outside action and the internal action, the internal thought which goes before the action. Whenever we try to do something, first it comes in the mind. We first decide it in the mind that we will do this thing, and then our willpower is motivated and we come into external action. But that internal action happens in the mind of man, and it is this internal action which forces the man to act externally. Therefore, the internal action comes first before the external action, and this is included in the external action. Therefore, action includes character as well as emotion. Both the two things discussed above, they are included in action. Man in action means that character and emotions both are included. That is the internal action, the thoughts, and the external action. Both of them are included in action. तो यहाँ एक्शन की हमने वजाहत की मैन इन एक्शन का मतलब ये है हमारे लिए मतलब ये एक्सटर्नल एक्शन है जिस तरह हम वॉकिंग और जंपिंग और फाइटिंग करते हैं तो एक्सटर्नल एक्शन है लेकिन ग्रीक के लिए एक्सटर्नल और इंटरनल दोनों शामिल होते थे एक्शन में इंटरनल एक्शन इसलिए होता था शामिल कि इंटरनली आप कोई चीज़ सोचते हैं किसी इमोशन की सबब से आप एक अमल करने का सोचते हैं अंदर से और फिर उस पे एक्चुअली अमल करते हैं तो आपका इंटरनल एक्शन पहले आता है फिर उसके बाद एक्सटर्नल एक्शन आता है और एक्शन में ये दोनों एक्शन इंक्लूड है आपका कैरेक्टर भी इंक्लूड है और आपका इमोशन भी इसमें इंक्लूड आएगा In the theory of imitation, Aristotle also tells us that the work of art is not symbolic. You already know that symbol doesn't have a one-to-one relationship with the thing it represents. For example, you have learned in linguistics that the word dog, D-O-G, that it stands for an animal, but you cannot see the animal in D-O-G. So there is no iconic relationship as you have learned. The same is the case with the written word and the spoken word. They also are symbolic and there is no iconic or one-to-one relationship between the two. The work of art is not like this because it has likeness to the things of this world. Therefore, Aristotle says that the work of art is not symbolic. If we are trying to show man in action, in a drama, for example, whatever he does in the drama, he is also done in the real life. And that resembles the things of this world. That action which is there in the drama can be found in the real world. But of course, it is the unrealized world. This whole thing is not symbolic. It is lifelike. It has likeness to this world. And as he is imitating the form, it is unrealized world. The world is not present in reality, but the resemblance is there. So this is what he means by symbolic. That the work of art is not symbolic because it is lifelike. He makes this observation and then he compares the two art and history and he gives the high status to art as compared to history and he tells us that art is more philosophical than history because history talks about the particular things, not the universal things. History talks about some person. For example, it talks about Alexander, who was a particular person. Art history doesn't talk about universals or ideals. Art talks about universals or ideals because art imitates form. Art imitates the universal. In particular, in particular, something universal is imitated, which means that he gives body to universal. Body is particular. He may be a particular person, but he puts that universal in the body. Therefore, he gives body, we say. Aristotle means to say that the poet, the artist, he gives body to the universal. Uh, the ideal is something which cannot be seen. But once you put it into a body or you give it a body, it can be seen by the people. So therefore he does a wonderful job, because he gives body to the ideal thing which doesn't have any. Therefore he produces a visible form for idea. Um, so whatever is said by the poet or by the dramatist may have different meanings. For example, if the poet says, "Much have I traveled in the realms of gold," Keats perhaps, and by traveling here is meant reading. So he tells us that he has traveled into different realms, and the realms of gold are not actually the realms of gold. So the artist actually writes about the unrealized ideal and embodies this ideal in the image which resembles the body of this world. The sentence means this, that the artist uh, talks about the ideal which is unrealized, because ideal cannot be realized, and to this unrealized ideal he gives a body, he embodies it in image, and this image resembles the body of this world. And this is a wonderful job that he does, because he is giving body to something which doesn't have any body. This is also included in his theory of art, theory of mimesis, theory of imitation. इसमें हमने ये पढ़ा कि जो आर्ट का वर्क है सिंबॉलिक नहीं होता, बल्कि इसकी मुशाबहत रियल वर्ल्ड के साथ होती है। सिंबल वो है जिसकी मुशाबहत रियल के साथ नहीं हो, जिसकी मुशाबहत उस चीज़ के साथ नहीं होती जिसको ये रिप्रेजेंट करता है। लिंग्विस्टिक्स में आपने पढ़ा है कि DOG सिंबल है एक जानवर का। ये सिंबॉलिक इसलिए है कि DOG में आप उस चीज़ को देख नहीं सकते, ये आइकॉनिक रिलेशनशिप नहीं रखता उस चीज़ के साथ, तो ये सिंबॉलिक है। लेकिन जो आर्टिस्ट करता है वो तो सिंबॉलिक नहीं है, वो तो जिंदगी के साथ रिजेम्बलेंस रखता है, अनरियलाइज्ड वर्ल्ड आपको देता है रियलाइज्ड शक्ल में, अनरियलाइज्ड वर्ल्ड को एक इमेज की शक्ल में पेश करता है जो वर्ल्ड की तरह है। फिर वो आर्ट को हिस्ट्री से बेहतर साबित करता है कि हिस्ट्री से ये ज़्यादा फिलोसॉफिकल है, क्योंकि हिस्ट्री ख़ास लोगों की बात करता है। मसलन अलेक्जेंडर की बात करता है, फिलिप ऑफ मैसेडोन की बात करता है, ये तो पर्टिकुलर है। आर्ट यूनिवर्सल्स की बात करता है और ये इमिटेट करता है यूनिवर्सल की, और इस यूनिवर्सल को डालता है पर्टिकुलर में। मतलब ये कि ड्रामे में आप पर्टिकुलर देखते हैं, लेकिन इस पर्टिकुलर में उसने यूनिवर्सल को छुपाया होता है, तो लिहाजा ये प्रोड्यूस करता है विजिबल बॉडी। एक आइडिया के लिए आइडिया तो बॉडी लेस है, वो इस आइडिया को एक विजिबल शेप देता है और इसको पेश करता है। तो आर्टिस्ट जो है ये अनरियलाइज्ड आइडियल की बात करता है, इसको बॉडी देता है इमेज की, और ये इमेज इस दुनिया की चीजों के साथ सिमिलर है। अब अगर इस सारे को देखा जाए तो हमने ये इसकी समरी है। ये पहला पैराग्राफ मैं इसका पढ़ देता हूँ, और ये समरी अगर आप याद करें या जो हमने डिटेल से पढ़ा ये याद करें जिस तरह आपको आसान हो। ये इसकी समरी है कि मिमीसिस का लफ्ज़ प्लेटो ने इस्तेमाल किया. Plato used the word mimesis or imitation for art. Aristotle borrowed the same word from Plato. प्लेटो ही से ये लफ्ज़ लिया and called art imitation or mimesis. उसने भी आर्ट को mimesis कहा but gave it a new dimension. और इसको एक नया शक्ल दिया. Aristotle in his Poetics says that art is imitation of nature and that it is imitation of man in action. He believed that art has similarity with real life. ये आखिरी जो दो पॉइंट्स अभी हमने किए. It is not symbolic, though the medium used in it is, that is, language is symbolic. He gave art a higher place than history और कहा कि हिस्ट्री पर्टिकुलर की बात करता है और आर्ट आइडियल की बात करता है. तो फिर इसके बाद आएगा प्लेटोस थियरी ऑफ इमिटेशन ऑफ आर्ट. जिस तरह के प्लेटो ने कहा था कि ये ट्वाइस रिमूव फ्रॉम रियलिटी है. पोएट्स जो हैं दे टेल लाइज अबाउट गॉड्स and the poet waters the emotion. Aristotle's theory तो ये प्लेटो की theory के बगैर हम अरिस्टोटल की बात नहीं कर सकते. तो अरिस्टोटल की जो theory of imitation थी वो ये था कि poet imitates ideal, that is form, therefore not twice removed. Lies about gods is the fault of poet, not art. Art लाई नहीं करता, पोइट लाई करता है. ये आर्ट की खराबी नहीं है, पोइट की खराबी. इट इज better to arouse emotions like pity and fear and then effect its catharsis or purgation. ये पॉइंट हम पढ़ेंगे कि इमोशंस को उभारना ये ज़रूरी है क्योंकि हम में जो पिटी और फेयर के जज्बात हैं ये अराउज होंगे तो फिर कैथारसिस होगी, परगेशन होगी, वरना ऐसा नहीं होगा. ये पॉइंट इसके बारे में आपने सवाल भी पूछा है और ये मुझे याद है और ये हम कैथारसिस में डिस्कस करेंगे. फिर आइडेंटिफाइंग योरसेल्फ विद अदर्स इज इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर सिंपथाइजिंग विद अदर्स. ये हमने पहले पढ़ा हुआ है. आर्ट इज द इमिटेशन ऑफ नेचर की हमने बात की कि फॉर्म ट्राइज टू मेक अस परफेक्ट. फॉर्म इज इक्विवेलेंट टू नेचर. आर्ट इमिटेट्स दिस फॉर्म. एज ए रिजल्ट art imitates the method of nature, not the object of nature. Form is ideal, so he imitates ideal, not the perfect copy of the ideal. Example of application to useful art में कि ये कैसे useful art में application होता है. डॉक्टर की example पढ़ी who tries to give us perfect health. He imitates nature या form. हमने एग्जाम्पल ऑफ एप्लीकेशन ऑफ फाइन आर्ट की पढ़ी पेंटिंग, ड्रामा और पोइट्री में. पेंटर वांट्स टू पेंट ओनली द गुड क्वालिटीज एंड लीव आउट द बैड वंस. आर्ट इज द इमिटेशन ऑफ मैन इन एक्शन के आपने पढ़ा कि ऑब्जेक्ट्स ऑफ इमिटेशन तीन हैं. कैरेक्टर जो है ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ इमिटेशन है. ये परमानेंट डिस्पोजिशन ऑफ द माइंड ऑफ मैन है और अ मैन ऑफ गुड कैरेक्टर ऑलवेज बिहेव्स इन द सेम वे इन ऑल कंडीशंस. ये कंसिस्टेंट होता है. Emotion is the object of imitation. It is temporary and not permanent. Action जो है object of imitation है. Action includes both internal thought which goes before the action and external action. तो action का मतलब action and emotion, character और emotion दोनों होंगे. Work of art symbolic नहीं है, life like है. Language is symbolic but image produced is life like. People in action in drama resemble us. Art more philosophical than history है. History imitates particular what was and what has been. Art imitates unrealized ideal यानी form. Embodies ideal in image. Art embodies ideal in image which resembles the objects of the world. Artist produces body for the idea. तो ये सारा इंक्लूड करता है. लंबा क्वेश्चन था, उस पर टाइम भी हमने गुजारा. ये था अरिस्टोटल्स थ्योरी ऑफ आर्ट हेड्स की शक्ल में. सो थैंक यू एंड गुड लक.